think Gavin's running for president. It's just the election hasn't started yet. I think
President Trump addressed the media for almost 2 hours tonight at the White House. His main objective was to talk about his own achievements 1 year into his second term in power. But when he did take questions, his bid to take control of Greenland was top of the list.
How far are you willing to go to acquire Greenland?
You'll find out.
Well, the president was pressed on whether he was prepared to risk the future of NATO to take over the Danish territory.
I think something's going to happen that's going to be very good for everybody. Nobody's done more for NATO than I have, as I said before, in every way. Getting them to go up to 5% of GDP was something that nobody thought was possible, and pay. At 2% they weren't paying. At 5% they are paying. And they're buying a lot of things from us, and they're giving them, I guess, to Ukraine. That's up to them, but they're giving them to whoever they're giving them to, but they're buying a lot. I think that we will work something out where NATO is going to be very happy and where we're going to be very happy. But we need it for security purposes. We need it for national security and even world security. It's very important. How about it?
Well, President Trump was asked if he's spoken to Keir Starmer or Emmanuel Macron since his Truth Social posts criticising the two leaders.
No, I haven't, but I think I get along very well with them. I mean, they always treat me well. They get a little bit rough when they're, when I'm not around. But when I'm around, they treat me very nicely. And, I like both of them. They're both liberal. They've got to straighten out their countries. You can't, London is having a lot of problems. And if you look at Paris, got a lot of problems. They have two problems, immigration and energy. They got to stop with the windmills, and they got to go back like UK has an unbelievable asset called the North Sea.
Well, over in Davos, the Democratic governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has been urging European leaders not to be bullied by President Trump.
It's time to buck up. It's time to get serious and stop being complicit. It's time to stand tall and firm, have a backbone. Can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought up a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. I mean, handing out crowns and this is pathetic. Nobel Prizes, they are being given away. It's just pathetic. And I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. At least from an American perspective, it's embarrassing.
Well, let's talk to Michael Martins, former political and economic specialist at the US Embassy in Britain during Trump's first term. A very good evening to you, Michael.
Nice evening, and thanks for having me.
Well, clearly, Gavin Newsom is a political opponent of President Trump's. But do you think that perhaps he might have a point? Have we here in the UK and indeed across Europe been a little too supine, a little bit too inclined to try desperately to flatter the US president instead of standing up to him?
I think Gavin's running for president. It's just the election hasn't started yet. I think in practical terms, there have been a lot of unprecedented things that have happened over the past week or two. I think, there have been a few NATO countries that are sending 1 or 2 dozens of troops to Greenland as almost tripwire forces against another NATO member state. So there's a lot of unprecedented. I don't think many European countries are in the space of complicity. Macron is coming out today and saying strong words. Starmer did earlier this week. I think, with the cards that are being dealt, they're playing relatively good hands. It's more a question of, how does this fit within President Trump's negotiation strategy? And I think, in the clip that was just played, it's clear that he's looking for a win. And we're going to figure out what that win looks like. But, in my opinion, we've gone from invasion to tariff to purchase. And that's like a different sort of off-ramp than what you might expect.
Nonetheless, President Trump is still threatening these further tariffs against the UK and other European nations who've opposed his bid to in any way take control of Greenland, when Greenland and Denmark have both made it clear that they don't want to be part of the United States. Do you think that Keir Starmer needs to bluntly tell President Trump that he's wrong on this and tell him he should back off?
In my opinion, I usually with something like this with President Trump, that type of conversation is best left in private. I think publicly, I think Starmer did a relatively good job of saying it's an incorrect choice. It's not something he agrees with, and he's standing in solidarity with the other NATO members that have come out, obviously in support of Denmark and Greenland. I think it's, again, when it comes to President Trump's playbook, this is sort of usually the approach he takes when he's trying to get a win. He goes to an extreme scenario, he raises prices via tariffs, and he tries to bring people to his terms at the negotiating table. And I think, honestly, we're starting to see that already, of trying to figure out, what can be offered to President Trump in a way that he feels like he's won in Greenland, because I think ultimately he's looking for a political win here.
Do you think that he has realised the potential risks to the NATO alliance? Because we heard him there saying that he felt that there was a solution there which NATO would be very happy about. Do you think that there is the scope here to negotiate a way that President Trump can, perhaps if not get everything he wants in terms of his control of Greenland, but can have perhaps, he's already got the right to station more troops there, but perhaps give him rights to some of the minerals and so on, and that there is scope for a negotiated settlement?
Yeah, honestly, it kind of reminds me of some of the first forays into trying to raise defense spending in NATO countries across Europe, where there was a similar sort of approach. And ultimately, the idea was, I think, to create a level of anxiety whereby it led to these type of results. I think when it comes to Greenland, and if we think about it in terms of Arctic security, I think it's a similar playbook. So in my opinion, what I think the landing zone that I think he's looking for here is maybe like another base or two in Greenland built, or something like this, or a commitment to spend a certain amount on Arctic security or something like this. I think that's the landing zone, because even over the past week, I know that the posts are destabilizing, but the words that he's using to talk about Greenland have also softened, in my opinion. Again, it's gone from "we'll take it" to "we want to buy it," and that's, in my view, one, you would need congressional approval, which is a different thing, but it is in some ways a softening.
What about this question of the future of the Chagos Islands? I mean, Keir Starmer is saying that he had delayed going ahead with the deal until he got approval from the Trump administration, that they got that the whole idea was that the Trump administration was in favor of this. And now it seems that President Trump has completely changed his mind.
Yeah, and that's, I remember I think it was one of the press conferences where President Trump effectively said, he's going along with it, he supports it. I think it's a negotiation tactic designed to exert leverage, because it is a contentious decision that was taken. It's also one where a lot of President Trump and his political allies in the UK system, they tend to agree on at least the opposition to it initially. So I think he understands the issue, and he's using it as a form of leverage to try and bring the UK closer to his view on Greenland and Arctic security.
Just one final thought on NATO. Do you think President Trump will actually stick to his commitments on NATO? Do you think that this is all about, yes, making other NATO allies pay more, spend more, perhaps in some circumstances look after their own defence? Or do you think that if EU and other NATO leaders do get too confrontational, he could in some way withdraw the US from its traditional role as the most powerful member of NATO? Yeah,
he's always had that power. Ironically, Marco Rubio, he has several jobs now in this administration, but when he was in the Senate, passed or at least sponsored the law that made it so the president can't unilaterally withdraw from NATO anymore. But as commander in chief, he can move American forces out of Europe if he so decides. And he's always had that power. I think the reason why I believe that the NATO commitment still exists is, you can track on flight radar. There are 2 U.S. Air Force planes that continuously patrol the Black Sea and the Baltic Sea, and I don't, as far as I'm aware, I don't see that going away. I think President Trump is very good at the strategic ambiguity to serve his interests. There's always that push to get commitment, but if he thinks he can exert some leverage and extract some gains, he'll probably do it.
Michael Martins, former political and economic specialist at the US Embassy in the UK. Really good to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.